Mark Jeffries, and Matt Pangrack. BTL is brought to you by Lowrance, Lose, Strike King Lures, Basskett Boats, Ducket Fishing, Spro, AFCO, Sunline, and TH Marine. BTL coming at you. Good Monday, everybody. Welcome once again to BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Yes, he is in studio once again, Bradley Hallman. Welcome, Brad. Anytime, man.
Good to see you boys. Good to see you boys.
You came bearing gifts this morning.
Yeah, I did. And microphone check. There we go.
Yeah.
Bingo, bingo. Yeah, I stopped at Chick-fil-A, and I actually did think about you, Mark, and I was like, man, I know he's not eating the fried chicken, so what can I get? So, yeah, I brought a couple chicken biscuits in and a fruit cup for Mark.
Yeah.
Now that Brad's part of the Scott Martin crew, if you saw any of his videos from the most recent Open, Brad is rooming with Scott and the two cameramen and Todd Castledine and Andrew Upshaw. And, Brad was like, hey, you guys have any Evian water? Like, where's the assistant for BTL? Have you just came in completely went straight to his head? But great job there at the first Open. So back from that with what you needed to get done, I guess.
All right, man. A couple of things I need to do right off the bat, Matthew. One, I need to straighten out a mistake. I said last week that Mr. Bruce Aiken was going to be on tomorrow. He is not going to be on until next Tuesday.
Okay.
All right, I got my weeks messed up. So next week, we will have the CEO of Bass, Mr. Bruce Aiken, will be on Tuesday live via Skype. And then tomorrow, we actually have Brandon Cobb on. I got those two guys mixed up for some reason in my brain.
You fished against him for a couple years on the tour before.
Cobb?
Yeah, before he moved to the Elites.
Yeah, I actually had a conversation with him in Florida when we were just down there. He was parked next to me when day one at the end of there before weigh-in. We were getting our fish together and laughing and joking. Anyway, I was talking about how it seems like he always has a great day. He said last year not so much. He said I had 8 great days.
Yeah, well, he got 2 blue trophies.
Yep,
so
he did.
We'll see about that. All right, today, great show. We're going to have Mark Davis on and talk about all that Mark has going on in his life, one of the seasoned veterans. And, Matt, you were throwing some numbers out there before the show. Pretty impressive stats.
Yeah, let me hit this. Obviously, our last 3 shows, we had Jimmy Houston in studio on Tuesday, Rick Clunn on Wednesday, and Mark Davis today. And I started thinking, man, that's a lot of history, a lot of people kind of enjoying the legend of the sport. So I just threw it together based on their stats. These 3 between FLW and BASS through 2019 have combined for 129 years of experience, 1,194 tournaments, 254 top 10s, just between our last 3 guests, just Rick Clunn, Jimmy Houston, and who we have on today.
How many millions?
I didn't go through.
Didn't go
through and do the earnings, but yeah, super impressive.
Very, very just sad weekend. 2 iconic people passed away. First being, we received word late, I think when it was Thursday or Friday, Matthew, the passing of Forrest Wood.
Yeah, he had 87 years old. We were just kind of talking about before this came in, Brad. I think you said you saw him at the Forrest Wood Cup this past year. They actually brought him and his wife up on stage kind of as a thank you for everything he'd done for FLW, and then suffered a heart attack 4 days later, passed away. But just an outpouring of support from the community, and it's kind of interesting. Everybody has that photo of them with Forrest Wood, which kind of goes to show how open, receptive, and involved he was in the industry. You know, a lot of guys from kids. I mean, I've got 4 signed Forrest Wood baseball cards at home, and 3 of them say to Mike, because he always wrote his name on it. I was 13 years old, and I said, "Can you say what's your name?" "My name's Matt." "Oh, I wrote it out. Oops, I said Mark. I got another one." He pulls it out. 3 times he said Mark. And the 4th time he got Matt, so he was going to take. I said, I want all 4 of those things. So I got 4 of those, and that was when I was 13 years old. So I went back and looked at it. So I'm sure everyone, each of you guys have your stories with Forrest too.
Yeah, very cool. You know, when the whole Millennium thing went down and Darryl Robertson won the Millennium, that was a very, very proud moment for Forrest. The first time that $1 million was given away in this game. I should say earned, not given away, because of what Darryl had to go through to win that. $500,000 in the the millennium, or $1 million in the millennium, and then $500,000 in the FLW Cup.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty insane, the good times that were taking place during that period, and I really don't think that happens if it wasn't for Forrest.
Yeah, he definitely had a big impact on the sport, and has with it.
Yeah,
it was 600,000 in the millennium.
Is that what it was?
Richest at the time.
Yeah.
600,000. Twice as much as it is to win a classic now.
Well, it was actually worth more than that. There were certain things that you had to achieve, but you could win all the way up to
$1 million because of the incentives and stuff.
Correct. Okay. Right.
Yeah. So sad day, but just an iconic figure in this game of professional fishing and fishing in general. You think about the community of flipping and everything that takes place around that northwest Arkansas area, kind of northern Arkansas, with all the just influence that Forrest had on the boat building business. And I want to let everybody know we are going to have Rick Pearson in a future show. He reached out to me and we kind of chatted a little bit, and we're going to get him back on to tell some stories about some of the stuff that has went on in the boat building business over history. And I'm sure Forrest will be mentioned in those conversations. All right. The other thing that went down, and I think everybody, whether you're a basketball fan or not, obviously with me being a basketball coach and being around the game so many years, pretty much shocked. And some of the people that I spoke with yesterday when we were at Mass, these are people that aren't even basketball fans. They were really shocked and really just hurt by the passing of Kobe Bryant. It's crazy.
He was a worldwide figure, and I know that most people that relate to him, even if they're not basketball fans, was just his competitive nature. His fire and drive was just so high above everyone else's. I'm gonna pull this up real quick. There was a quote that I actually got from Kobe, one of the interviews that he did, and I'm gonna try and pull it up real quick. And I keep this on the phone. And here's the quote. And I quote. It goes by quickly. If you don't put forth the effort, no matter what you choose to do in life, you will regret the lack of effort and never achieve your goal. And that's how he lived his life, man. Absolutely.
I mean, he was just nonstop from an effort standpoint. If he was going to do something, he was all in. He was all in all the time. And they were showing on the news yesterday some of the pictures of his Mamba performance facility that he built for basketball. I mean, this is a multi-million-dollar facility, and the dude made a lot of money, obviously, flying around in a helicopter everywhere he went. His helicopter was kind of like our truck, Bradley.
Yeah.
So just a sad day around the world, and so many thoughts coming in from athletes and really public figureheads about how much influence that Kobe had on people's life across the world. The other thing, Matthew, I'm going to ask you this. Is John Cox the best angler in the world right now?
Well, I'm going to defer that to Bradley, because Bradley, you've fished against the guy.
He's close. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely top 2 or 3.
It's unbelievable, Bradley.
Brian Thrift, pound for pound, is the best fisherman in the world, in my personal opinion right now. But Cox was right there with him.
When we had him on the show, well, his expenses this year were going to be over $200,000, right?
About $137,000 is what he was saying in the article that he had done previous. But yeah, I mean, with
gas and everything else. All right, call it 150.
Yeah.
The dude wins a tournament and he's not even close to breaking even.
Well, he's
but
one tournament in.
That's the point I'm going to make, Matthew.
Glass half full over there.
Jeez. Do I have any doubt that he is going to surpass that, whatever the break-even threshold is? I have no doubt that he will, Matthew. Jeez.
We talked a little bit about this before, and I talked to, he's fishing the FLW Pro Circuit.
Yeah.
And the Elite Series.
Yeah.
So he still has
Harris
Chain, St. John's River, Eufaula, Chickamauga, and Hartwell coming up in the next couple of months. He's got $100,000 under his belt this year already. What do you think his number is after those 5? Does he hit the $500,000 in earnings mark this year between all of his stuff, Brad?
I don't know. That's a big number. $500,000. I understand he's got some lined up, but I mean, even if he won 3 and cashed and all the rest, I mean, I guess he'd be close. But you see what I'm saying? That'd be hard to do.
$250,000 just in the regular
incredible.
season. Will he hit $250,000 in the regular season?
Oh yeah. He's hitting $250,000.
That's insane.
I think so too.
The other big news. It is big news because there's not many tournament directors at that level, and another iconic tournament director is Bill Taylor, who's been around for FLW for over 20 years, and it was announced. It seemed kind of weird, as like kind of abrupt. The day of the meeting for the first FLW Pro Circuit, it comes out after we were done with the show, in that time between, they have their off day, that Daniel Fennell's taken over as the tournament director for the FLW Pro Circuit. Once again, deferring to Bradley. You fished under Bill Taylor for a number of years, and I've heard of. But I mean, man, if there is a thankless job out there, it is tournament director. But for the last 13, 14 years that I've been in this, guys have bitched about Tripp and they've bitched about Bill Taylor, but they will always end up saying, but dude, those guys are great at what they do, and we know they're getting a fair shake, and we trust them.
It's a hard job. I mean, you're never going to please everyone. That's what you know with that job, right? And then even the guys that you like, they're going to be mad at you at some point. Someone else is. Daniel's they've been grooming Daniel for some time now, and he's been heavily involved. He's been at all the tournaments. Obviously he's been emceeing weigh-ins for the FLW Tour for quite some time, but he's been doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes also, and glad to see him take that step up. I think it's a great choice with him.
It says that Bill will fill a new and expanded role as FLW starts the season. As Senior Director of Operations, he'll work with all of FLW's tournament directors to help with planning, logistics, venue selection, angler recruitment, and just about anything else that needs to be done to make sure tournaments are successful. So kind of taking an overseeing role as Daniel kind of steps into that. There haven't been that many tournament directors in the history of professional
there's been a lot
bass
of
fishing.
stability. I mean, really, for a long time.
And they paid half the field too.
Yep.
I wanted to throw that in there when you look at the payback and how much money was being paid back at the first event. Yeah, you won $100,000, and then it dropped down to 30, and then they paid all the way down to
paid a lot of spots.
75th place.
I agree.
You've done this at the professional level. You've done it for decades, but at the professional level, what, 6 years on the Elite Series, 4 years on the FLW Tour?
That's correct, yep.
So you've got a decade in on this. Just as an angler who's making your profession in these tournaments, how important is an angler's relationship with the tournament director, trust in a tournament director, anything that you've ever had to work with a tournament director? Like, is it important to have that relationship with the tournament director? I
mean, as long as you feel like the tournament director is fair to everyone, you know what I mean? No matter who you are, who they're dealing with. I mean, if it's you and Van Dam, you don't want Van Dam's to come in the way of a rookie that's paying. I mean, they should be on equal playing field at that. I don't know that that's always how it's been done, and I'm not saying that it is, but for the most part, yes, I think everyone has been treated equally, and all things have been just for the most part that they could, within reason, right?
Hey, by the way, Bradley, you got to show your mug to the camera every now and then. People want to see what you look like.
I get to talking to Matt here, and I get turned around. Sorry,
they said that on the Instagram. It's like, hey, we want to see Bradley sometime. Tell him to turn around. All right, the other bit of business I need to take care of. Last week, I made the announcement that we were going to give away a brand new Lowrance HDS Live 12. And already, Matthew, we're close. All right. Now, I got to make sure I explain something. There is two different items that take place on iTunes. One is ratings, and the other one is reviews. Well, I have no way of identifying anybody when they do a rating. So you have to do a review to be eligible to be randomly chosen for this great prize from Lowrance. So here's what we're going to do. Right now the number is 946, Matthew, and I wanted to get to 1,000. So if you did a rating, you need to go back and do a review to be eligible for this giveaway. So what we're going to do, we're going to run it one more week. I'm going to give everybody out there an opportunity to do a review. Then on the show on Monday, 1 week from today, we will choose the lucky winner of the HDS 12. All right? Did I say that correctly now?
Ratings are stars that you just click the stars.
Right.
No one knows who rated it.
I
It's
can't
an
track
anonymous
that.
rating.
Yeah.
Reviews are, there's a screen name there that are along with
You
it.
have to have an iTunes account
So
to be
if
able
you,
to
if
do
you
a
left
review.
a rating but not a review, just go back and leave a review.
Yeah, so we're close. So I
Talk
feel
about Mark's sweater vest, his hair part, whatever you want to talk
Yeah.
about. Bradley's
Sweater vest.
in-depth analysis,
I
whatever
like
tickles
the
your
vest,
fancy.
man.
I don't know that I've ever owned a sweater vest in my life. Can
You're
you believe
kidding
that?
me.
No way, man. Not that I got anything
You're
against
wearing
it.
a vest
you look,
right
you
now.
you look great in it, but it's not a sweater vest.
That's a jacket vest.
I've never owned one.
How many do you have? Like, no BS. I'm seriously
probably
asking.
20 or 30.
Wow.
And what was the genesis? Like, when were you like, you know what, I need this cashmere
When I was
in my life?
when I was an assistant, probably, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago.
You just put one on one day and you thought, man, I look sharp.
It fits them, doesn't it?
Dude,
I mean,
I saw a coach wear a vest.
Bobby Knight.
Besides Bobby Knight, I mean,
You realize when he was going through his getting suspended from all the different high school arenas was when Bobby Knight was chucking chairs. He retires. Now Jeffries is like a motivating coach.
there are certain things about Bobby Knight
Yeah.
are just disgusting, and I don't like. And
I'm talking about on the
nothing
court.
to do, But I just like the look, and I get compliments all the time about the sweater vest.
You wear
dude.
it well. You wear
All
it well.
the time.
You wear it well.
So it is what it is. So there, folks, please go into iTunes, review us, and have a shot. It's sitting right there. We're going to give it away next Monday. All right, anything else we need to catch up on, Matthew? How's
Yeah.
the rodeo?
Oh, she hit a barrel, and it was a $2,000 barrel. It's the equivalent of boat flipping a 5-pounder, and it comes off in midair. She still did good, and it was like the ACRA finals equivalent. I got not money wise, but kind of prestige wise, like a BFL regional. Kind of had it in the bag. You know, some tough horses there. She was running against Superman and Bud the Stud. I also wanted to hear a little bit about Bradley's Open for like a minute and a half before we bring Mark Davis on.
All right.
But
Man,
I mean,
I really don't have that many stories. I've done so much YouTube and put it all out there. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like,
well, that was the Open there to say, hey, I'm stepping up the YouTube game. You need to check it out. I got my 8-pounder on there. I broke down everything. I'm having new stuff coming out.
Yeah, it was it was interesting, just the fact that I had cameras rolling all the time, and that's come from FLW and it being a year there when we were required to wear or run cameras, you know, during the tournaments and stuff, for martial purposes and for rules violations and things like that. So last year it was kind of cumbersome. Well, now we saw some of the benefits of actually running cameras, and so now we're rolling them 24/7 and then start the Derby off with an 8-pounder, and I'm like, and that red light's blinking.
Jeffries said he was going to give you a tough time about it.
What's that?
The celebration.
No, I just
You read into that. I've heard what he said about it already. I've heard. He called it epic.
Yeah.
Epic.
Yeah.
That was his words. Epic. You were just wanting him to dig. I know.
No, I'm not digging on that.
Glass half full. I get you.
We do have the soundbite though.
I was a little excited.
You kissed it 4 times.
Maybe 5.
4.
So here's the deal. This is what guys don't realize is I actually shook that fish off the day before. The day before I shook it off. And I mean, it literally doubled the rod. Like, it has no hook, and it was like, I was like, is that an alligator?
But didn't you have that 2 roads diverge in a wood, and you had to decide whether you go the safe route or whether you go for one bite that you knew you had?
That's the whole deal. I had to make that decision in the lock that day. And that morning, first thing you got to decide, am I going to go a place where I can sit down and catch 5 and never move my boat, or am I going to the big one? Because the big one's all by itself.
All right, we'll get into this later.
Later.
All right, we'll get into it later. All right, coming back with Mark Davis on a Monday. Everybody stay tuned.
The ultimate fishing system starts with Lowrance HDS Live. Upgrade to HDS Live with a Ghost trolling motor, live sight transducer, or Structure Scan 3D, and get up to $500 cash back.
Yeah, you care about gear ratios, inches per turn, and ball bearings, but most importantly, you want reliability and dependability in the equipment you use. Lew's doesn't cut corners when it comes to the gear they build. The new Speed Spool LFS is the best $99 reel in the market. Go see for yourself.
We've paired one of the most iconic hulls in the history of bass boats with a proven lineup of trusted accessories. We're bringing you best-in-class value and performance, leaving others in your wake. Turnkey value, turnkey performance. The Pantera 2 is an overachiever in the 19-foot category. Once you hit the throttle, you'll feel the rush, and there's no looking back.
Kevin, what are you doing here?
Oh, I'm just filling in for Billy.
I need 660 shad crankbaits in the Series 5 model.
We're out.
You're not out. You got all kinds of them right there.
We're out.
Kevin, I need 6.
Have a lollipop.
I do not want a lollipop.
Have a lollipop.
Do you have it in sexy shad color?
At Duckett Fishing, we have assembled the top pros in the country to help us design rods to give you a competitive advantage. Castability, strength, durability, action, sensitivity, weight and balance, and consistency. Combine that with the best warranty in the industry, and you have rods that are pro-driven.
Duckett Fishing, pro-driven.
I want to share with you a new product we got coming out from Sunline. This is the FC leader size spools that we have now. We've gotten a lot of requests for this. A lot of you guys use fluorocarbon for leaders only, myself included. And one of the problems you have is when you have a 200-yard spool, that might last you 2, 3, 4 years. You might even lose it before you even get done with the spool. So we've gone to a little smaller spool. These are 50-yard spool sizes. You know, that way you're not holding your line on forever. You can keep your line fresh, use it when you can, stores real easily in the boat. We got all of our popular line sizes that you're used to with our Sniper from 5 to 14 pound. If you guys are looking for a line that you're only tying for a leader, go check out Sunline FC Leader 100% fluorocarbon and give it a try.
Blue Water by TH Marine. Offering LED lighting solutions for your boat, trailer, truck, ATV, and so much more. Engineered and built to be rugged with waterproof and submersible options. Designed for easy installation, Blue Water is available in a variety of colors and styles. All backed by a limited lifetime warranty. Blue Water by TH Marine.
The name SPRO says it all. SPRO stands for Sports Professionals. When you look at the pro staff that SPRO has brought on board over the past 15 years, it's been pretty incredible. I mean, one got it just then. From the development of the Rock Crawler to the McStick, from the Fat Popper to the Little John series, when you tie a SPRO bait on, you know it's been designed by a professional to get the job done.
Meet AFTCO's iCast award-winning Hydronaut waterproof system. Hydronaut features a 20K 100% waterproof shell, double dry cuffs to keep water out, speed vent hood engineered to prevent neck strain at high rates of speed, AFTCO exclusive Cyclops tactical camera mount, Comfort Flex shoulder straps for all-day comfort, outerwear that you can count on. The Hydronaut waterproof system by AFTCO. Any fish, any water.
All of us on the Pro Tournament Trail use Gamakatsu hooks.
Why?
Because they are absolutely the best.
It's not about how many bites you get.
It's how many you put in the boat.
Gamakatsu makes hooks for every fishing style.
We didn't come this far to lose fish.
Did you?
For more information, visit gamakatsu.com.
The Big Bite Baits Kamikaze Swim On is a very unique bait, and it's got a full body but with ribs to give it a bigger profile but not more plastic. It's got a jointed tail that gives it a lot of action, as well as this up and down crawl type trail with holes and ribs in it, so it creates a bubble trail almost. This bait is supposed to be fished upside down or vertical like this on a great for a chatterbait. I prefer it on a swim jig as well, but you can also cut it down and put it on the back of a finesse jig. You know, flip it around for some spotted bass or flipping docks. Anytime you want a small, compact, you know, little trailer for it, this is great for it. So check out the full lineup of swim-ons at bigbitebaits.com.
All right, we are back on a Monday, and we are still trying to make contact with Mark, so we're just going to roll with it until I can make contact with him. He told me last night he's getting his boat wrapped today, but said that he should be available, no problem. Obviously not. So maybe there's some issues during the
Mount Ida, Arkansas
boat wrapping
cell
situation.
service.
Yeah, so
we got like a 3-year streak going.
What's that?
Well, viewers don't know it, but Rick was missing in action until about 30 seconds before the show started. Which, I mean, it's fine. You got guys that are busy, but I mean, it's been like 3 years since we haven't been able to get a hold of one.
Yeah, so I'll keep trying. We'll keep trying on that. I do want to mention this. There was some information that came down. I don't know. I haven't watched it. I haven't listened to it. I can't comment on it, really. But there was a comment out there about the Red Crest. I haven't posted. I will do my due diligence and try and find out what was said last night on a show, and we'll go from there.
You have or haven't posted it?
I haven't posted it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to post it.
Well, this gives us time.
I want to let everybody know I will look into the post that is not posted.
Well, why would you mention it then?
Huh?
Why would you mention it?
Well, it was more than it was more than one, because I don't know anything about it. I can't talk about it because I haven't done it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'm lost more than even you two. I have no clue what y'all are talking about.
Well, this gives us time. So as I was saying during the break before we left, then we're going to have Mark, and I'm sure Mark will call in a couple minutes. But so if you haven't seen it, Brad catches an 8-1, second biggest fish of day one.
Yeah.
To give you 18 pounds in the open. You're fishing all 8 of them to try to make the Elite Series, finish in the top 4 overall. But, you know, you catch an 8-pounder. But the thing is, if you look at that video, it's like, man, he's really happy to catch that 8-pounder. But this is a typical.
You thought I just won the classic.
This is a typical of the story behind it is what makes the fish. So.
Yeah, so I shake that fish off the day before. And what's cool about it, on my YouTube, I've actually got it out right now. You actually see me shake that fish off the day before. You can see the rod, bow, and everything, and then it just clips right onto the next. Anyway, so you're sitting in the lock and trying to decide where you're going to go. That's a decision that you got to make. And what you don't realize is that you're sacrificing a lot to go to one bite. But finally I decided, hey, I'm in Florida. I'm going for the big one. And, you know, flipping the coin, I got lucky.
I think I got him now.
Was it first flip then in the...
First cast on that same pad that she was on the day before, yes.
And how far was the limit spot from the 8-pound spot?
Probably 3 miles. But when I got there, there was 2 boats there.
Yeah. All right, Matt, I think I got him now. Mark, you there, man? Mark? Hey, Mark, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, we got him.
I got him. All right, you are live on the show with myself, Matt, and Bradley Hallman's on the show also today. So appreciate you taking time out. I know you're getting your boat wrapped today, correct?
Yes, sir. I'm at the wrap shop in Tyler, Texas.
All right. Well, let's just jump right in there, Mark. Going back to where you were quite a number of years ago, and I know a lot of fans on the instant feedback just want to know how that took place and what is it like being back with Basskett?
Oh, it's great. It's like coming home. Honestly, it's almost like I never left. You know, 15 years down the road and right back there. They've really modernized that plant. It's a lot of things have changed, but a lot of the same people there. It's great to be home.
All right. So, what model are you going to be running this year?
I'm running the Lynx. Big front deck, a lot of storage. Really runs fast. I've just got my motor broken in, and I cracked it up there just to see what it would do. It was like, I hadn't done this fast in a while. it's kind of fun.
Wow.
No doubt about it. Yeah, it's neat.
Mark, you started out with Basskett, then were Skeeter for so many years, and now returned to Basskett. My question: what was the first boat that you fished professionally out of? I mean, I run a Lynx too through that. I mean, the thing is, it's crazy how big it is. But just go back to that very first boat that you fished your first season out of as a professional. It would have been what, 86?
86. The 85-86 season, and that was a Pantera, the original Pantera, and Ron Pierce built that Pantera, and man, we were all in those days. Most of us were running 17-foot boats. A few guys had 18s, and here comes this 19-foot Cadillac. I mean, that Pantera was a Cadillac, and that was what I started in. And it was a great boat, still a great boat. In fact, the Pantera Classic and the Pantera 2 are still, current models. So the tradition continues with that Pantera. But that was my first boat.
What's the wrap you're getting put on, Mark?
It'll be a combination of B&W hitches and Basskett.
All right, very nice. Mark, let's kind of dive into last year. And then, obviously, I want to talk what's coming up this year. But when you look back and you have so much history in this game from a performance standpoint, the format changed, things obviously changed in 2019 for you. But how would you summarize your season last year?
I fished 8 events and a cup. And out of the 8 events, I made 6 cuts. But the knockout rounds just absolutely lived up to their name. They knocked me out, and it was a combination of blunders that kept me from ever, going on into a championship round. But I love the format. It's a little different when you've got 80 guys and we all practice. That's different. But you've got to get beyond that knockout round, and what I tell you what happened a couple times. This is just part of the game. So, you're in group. You got 2 groups: Group A, Group B, and depending on what group you're in, you're going to fish a day and then have a day off and fish, another day, and then you're going to qualify for that knockout round. Well, a lot of times I would be on these fish, and a guy in the opposite group has also found these fish or an area or whatever, and you don't know that. Going into that knockout round, you think you got this area all to yourself. There's a buddy over there, and so that's a new twist. They can trip you up, and it did me a couple of times. It did trip me up, and a lot of times you just run out of fish, or for whatever reason. I never had a good knockout round, but it's a very challenging format.
All right, Mark, on the instant feedback, a number of people, and I don't know if you can address this or not, but a lot of people are wondering why you made the move to Basskett. Can you address that, or was it just time to come home?
No, I can address that. Skeeter Yamaha, I was very happy with those guys and had been over there 15 years, but they pretty much have put their marketing eggs into the Basskett, and there's still a couple of Skeeters on the Bass Pro Tour, but it's 2 guys, and it went. They let all of us pretty much let us go. So naturally, Basskett was my first call. Those guys. I left there on good terms and was able to come back, but that's all it was. You can call it politics or whatever, but it's not truly politics. Things in this business change. These companies, these corporations, they change the marketing strategies, and I was caught up in one that, hey, it is what it is, and it's fine. I understand perfectly, and the way things go. You're liable to go 4 or 5 years from now, and Skeeter Yamaha will be heavily involved with the Bass Pro Tour, but. That's what it was. That was the reason. And of course, my choice of going back was simple. That was like I said earlier in our conversation. It was just like coming home. So that's the answer.
You mentioned you fish, the 8 regular season events in the BPT and then one of the cups, 9 tournaments this year. I mean, you live in a part of the country where there's a lot of really good fishing, and some lakes there in that Arkansas area and kind of Ozark region have been fishing really well lately. Do you get to go out and have fun with the kids and fish and spend a lot of time on the water outside of the tournament scene, or are you just not on the water as much as you used to be anymore?
I fish every day.
Really?
Pretty much every day. Yeah, I live right there on Lake Washita, and big old lake full. And I don't bass fish every trip. I crappie fish. I do a lot of other things. I love to catch walleye and love to catch, brim and bluegill. I do it all. But I fish every day. And of course, I've got boys that are seniors in high school, and they're in the high school fishing. So occasionally, I get to take those guys and captain for them in a high school event, and it's a lot of fun, watching those kids grow and learn. And one of them is really into fishing, and the other one kind of take it or leave it. And oddly enough, they both won a bunch of events, but the Hunter Hunter and Fisher are their names. Hunter is the one that can sort of take it or leave it. And his last, I'm trying to think back, a couple of years ago, he and his partner won over on Pickwick, won the national championship, and then he's like, I'm good now. And kind of lost interest in it, I'm like, of course, he was I think a sophomore at the time, and his partner was a senior. And when his partner graduated high school, I said, when are you going to find you another partner? And he's like, I think I'm good. I'm just going to play football. And but now the other one, Fisher, he's fishing nonstop. He's fishing adult tournaments, and in fact, he won one here a couple of weeks ago. So he's kind of like Dad. He really likes it. So it's fun to watch them learn and grow and all that stuff.
All right, you guys settle a debate for me here. So Brad and I were sitting here, Brad Hallman in studio, and we've gotten into the crappie fishing a lot this winter. I went over to the Major League Fishing website, and I said, oh, man, this is perfect. I said, because Mark Davis has an article about fishing for crappie on. Now, this is a serious question, Mr. Davis. I got people going, dude, you have not caught a bass yet in 2020, and you're fishing 4 days a week. I'm like, yeah, I'm catching these crappie and stuff. I'm like, I legit think it's going to help me when the tournament season comes along. Stayed on the water, electronics, catching these crappie. I want you to seriously answer, do you think it's really beneficial to fish for multiple species of fish throughout the year, kind of take that time to fish for crappie, to target walleye, and is that translatable then in tournament scenarios, being a well-rounded angler as opposed to just fishing for largemouth, smallmouth, and spotted bass?
Well, I'll say this. It certainly doesn't hurt your bass fishing to fish for other species. I'm not so sure that it necessarily helps it, but it certainly doesn't hurt it because, there's a sixth sense that anglers develop on the water. And whether you're using that sixth sense to catch bass or crappie or walleye, you're still figuring out how to generate a bite. You're figuring out, what these fish are doing. Are they suspended? They're biting, they're not biting. They're changing every day. All of that equates to making you a better angler. So, a lot of guys I know, they won't crappie fish. They're going to just bass fish, but all fishing, and of course, bass and crappie and bluegill are all they're all in the sunfish family, and they all have similar traits and characteristics in their habits and things that they do and all that. So, it certainly doesn't hurt. Does it help? In some instances, I think it helps, just for the reason that I just gave you. But, for me, I'm going to tell you, I'm 56 years old, and it's all about getting another bite. I don't care what it is. I just like catching fish.
You gave Matt the reason. That's what he needed, Marcus. He was debating today. He's going to the lake, and he's like, should I pull some bass stuff out? He wants to go crappie fishing. So you just gave him the green light to go crappie fishing one more time.
Go Go crappie fishing, man. Go crappie fishing. I've been down on Choke Canyon Lake for the last 4 days, and fishing's not great at home right now. It's cold. Water temperature's 47 or so. So, and I spend a lot of time in South Texas hunting all winter, and I got a buddy. He's, man, they're biting pretty good at choke, and I got my new boat and got everything working and going, and here we go. And so I drive down there, and man, it was. You talk about a tune-up, you're getting 75, 100 bites a day. It was, didn't catch any giants, but caught a lot of, 3 and 4 pounders, a few 5 pounders, wow. But golly, fun time.
So choke's on its way back. Yeah. I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, it's coming back full of grass. It's about a third. It's probably at about 2/3 capacity. It's about a third low. I would get maybe not quite that much, but it's low, and it's been low for a long time, several years, because there's 20-foot willows growing, all around the old shoreline now. So if that lake ever fills back up, it will really get good, because it'll be sort of like a lot of those South Texas lakes. Well, that's why Falcon gets good. When it gets full, those fish get inaccessible, and they have a couple of good spawns. Yep. And then water comes down, they all come out, and it's just crazy. And it's not the same thing could happen with choke, but it looks like right now they're going into another drought period down there. So, but yeah, it's full of hydrilla. Little sketchy getting around. You can tear something up down there pretty easy, you gotta, in fact, I went up the river and I had to idle forever, I'm bumping and hitting, and this open water island, there's no boat lane, there's no boat lanes, and good luck staying in that little river channel. That's the Frio River. Good luck staying in that thing. But yeah, fishing was great.
Mark, I want to go back to I don't know, 20, 30 years ago, back when the BP Top 150 was around there, and you guys used to have to flip for boats on some of the BASS events. I want to know, what is your one story that you can remember when that was the format, of which it kind of became a challenge on whose boat that you were going to take? Does anything stick out in your mind, or do you have a great story about some of those we got to flip for our boats stories?
Nobody tried to make Mark ride in their boat. Are you crazy?
That's why I want to know.
They drew and they said, where would you like to go?
That's a good question, and I'll tell you a story. It's kind of a generalization. When I started fishing, of course, when you start, no one knows who you are. You've not had any success, and you don't really have the fellow anglers' respect. You're not really a stick yet, and you're just this kid out there, entered in the tournament. You draw some guy, and he don't know you, and you don't know him, and you flip. And I can remember one event, and it was on West Point Lake, and it was a fall event. And that was West Point in those days. It was a little newer than it is now, obviously, and still had a lot of really good defined creek channels, and had stumps, and it was full of fish. Had a 16-inch size limit on it. So I find a creek full of bass, and Rick Clun, of all people, he finds the same fish, and we're both cranking. And sure enough, I lose the flip. But now here's the twist. See, Rick Klein doesn't have to flip for the boat, but I do. And Rick and I talked about this after the tournament was over. So we both had a good tournament. I was on the first 2 days. I only got to fish half a day, but I go in there in the afternoon, and I lost the toss both days. First thing, the second day though, I caught a big stringer, and of course the guy went with me on the third day, and wound up in the top 5 or whatever, but. Clun didn't win. I think he finished second, and I finished fourth, maybe. But Clun said, he were talking, and I didn't know Rick, and obviously knew who he was. But he said, he said, I watched you fish, and he said you were dialed in, and we shared that water, and both kind of had a little area there where we stopped, and kind of respect one another. He said, the day will come that you won't have to flip for the boat. He said it's sort of unfair as a rookie, but he said once you have some success, he said you won't ever have to flip for the boat. So that was the way it was. That was just the way the business was conducted, in those days as far as all that. But yeah, I've lost some flips, and I can tell you a couple other horror stories. But
yeah, go for it right now. We got time, Mark. That's the whole beauty of a podcast is you can take a rabbit hole and go down it.
Go down, yeah. It was different, and no doubt, And of course, I can remember the first Pro-Am event, and I didn't fish it. Ronnie Sheffield won it. It was at Okeechobee, and then the next year, I had just gotten married, and this was the second Pro-Am event Bass held, and it was back at Okeechobee again. I go down there, and I'm leading the event going into the final day, and wound up, I think I finished second or third. All I had to catch was 7 bass, and anyway, it wound up only weighing in 6 fish the last day, and lost a chance there to win $100,000. But it nevertheless, I'd had a good payday, and man, I thought, man, this is great. Because, the last day, my amateur partner, he never even picked his rod up. He said, man, you're going to win this tournament. I'm just going to sit here and watch and eat Vienna sausages and Snicker bars and watch you fish, And it was, and then, of course, that took off like wildfire. And, of course, now we've evolved into,
absolutely insisted that you guys stopped at a marina for lunch. It didn't matter.
Oh yeah.
He had to have lunch. What was that?
That guy is. I'm not going to mention any names, but I'll tell you the story. So
okay.
So we're fishing, and he made me flip for the boat, and I won the toss, and we were up at Lake of the Ozarks. And fishing wasn't great, but we were catching some fish. And he said, hey, I want to go to one of my spots. And I'm like, okay, where's it at? And he pointed over to this big marina. I mean, it's a big, huge floating marina. And I said, up in there, can you fish? Can you fish in there? Oh, yeah. He said, just go out in there. I thought we were going over there to fish, So I shut down at the no-wake zone on the island in there. I said, where because there's a million docks. So where you want to go? He said, he pointed over to the store, the floating store. He said, right over there. Heck, it's in like 60 feet of water. I'm like, there? He said, yeah. He said, pull over there. And he still doesn't tell me. If he just said, hey, I want to go in there and eat, I'd have been fine with that, whatever. But he kept saying, go over there, go over there. So I said, here? I said, stop now. He said, no, pull up to the dock. Well, now I'm figuring out what the program is. And he goes in there. And this is a big dude. Now, I'm a big guy, but this dude was big. And they had one of those rolling hot dog machines, right? That roll, that look like a rotisserie deal.
Yeah.
So he goes in there and he starts making these hot dogs and mustard and relish and onions, and he gets him about 4 of them. And they used to sell those old cinnamon rolls in a tin flat, that's covered up with cellophane,
Yeah.
Like a family pack. Now, I'm not talking about one with 2 of them in. I'm talking about one with a dozen cinnamon rolls, a big old flat of cinnamon rolls. He got that, and he got a half a gallon of milk. And he goes up there and he pays for it. He said, aren't you going to eat? I said, no. I said, we're not even supposed to be in here. He's all, man, we're good. I said, let's go, man, let's go. And he paid for that, and he started eating those hot dogs on the way out the door, got in the boat. He ate all the hot dogs, eat all the cinnamon rolls, and put all of his trash inside. He had done this before. He was a professional. He put all of his trash inside that tin and then rolled it up real tight and threw it on the floor of the boat and drank that half gallon of milk. Shoot, gone. Back fishing. You can't make that up. You can't make up a story like that.
Now,
right in the middle.
You said you're not naming names, but I'm just curious. Is this a guy who people would recognize?
He's passed away now, and yeah, people up in that area would know him. Yeah,
that's a great.
Yeah,
story.
they would recognize it.
So one
yeah.
of the things you're always known for is storytelling. Like, who tells it? Mark Davis, you tell the best stories on tour. I've been to like the Strike King Riders Conference and stuff. Everyone just sits around and listens.
It's very well known. So like fog delays, things like that, you try to find Mark or Swindle. Like those are the two guys you're trying to hunt down if you know you're going to be sitting there for 2 hours because you want to hear them talk.
So here's my question. If you had to sit and listen to another angler or someone in the industry tell a story, like who are you like, oh, I get to sit and listen to this guy tell stories? Or how did you kind of hone your storytelling craft? Did you have a storytelling mentor?
Oh, I don't think so. I don't know how that. I don't know if that's a gift or a curse to be a good storyteller. I just, I don't know. I've had so many crazy things happen, and years ago I got to telling those stories, and everyone loved it so much. And of course, you know, the more you tell them, the better you can tell them. You get practice at it, you know. In fact, we were just last week down there. I was stay over at my deer lease, and we'd cook out there at night and sit around the fire. And of course, you know, if you get 2 or 3 new guys, they're like, the old guys are like, Mark, tell them about that day, you know, because and so it was storybook time every night. You know, I'm telling these stories. And some of them I couldn't tell live on air, obviously, but there's some pretty good ones. You know, I've got the one about you know, back when. And I'm just going to tease everybody, and I cannot tell this story. It would not be. It's one of them stories you couldn't tell. I could tell us in another setting, but we don't want to put this out on the airwaves. But my oldest sister and Bill Clinton were classmates in high school, and when I won the Classic, they wanted me to come up and spend some time and visit with Bill and so forth. And I'm not. Bill's a great guy. Okay. Charismatic, he has a memory. I mean, guys, I can hide my own Easter eggs, and I can't find them. I mean, my memory is gone, and Bill can have this vivid memory of everything, and he never forgets the face, never forgets the name, and you know, I don't know. You can do the math. He had been out of high school for a long time when he was, you know, this was his first term. And of his presidency, you know. So, and this was before the Monica Lewinsky scam and all that. It's before all that. But so I get in there, you know, and I said, my oldest sister and you were, you know, classmates. I think she was a couple of years younger. Oh, what was her name? You know? Oh, yeah, I remember her. She drove a black Buick, and she's blonde hair, blue. I'm like, dang. And then I'm thinking, dang, sis. Tell me with old Bill, you know. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, you know, and I've got a story that goes along with that, and has to do with my oldest son. But he was there on that trip, and some things that were said that we can't do it right now, guys. But it's a good story.
I've heard the story.
Yeah, they want me to tell.
It is a good story.
Y'all may have heard it.
I've heard it.
Yeah. So yeah, it's storytelling's fun, no doubt. Yeah, there's you know, I don't know. At those tournaments, like in a fall delay, like you guys mentioned, a lot of times, yeah. And you know who loves these stories more than any other pro is Cajun Baby. Cliff Crochet. He's like, come on, Mark, come over here. You know, I can't talk like Cliff. Come on, Mark, come over here and tell us the story. And I'll always have one for him, and I'll have him just rolling in the floor, you know. But yeah, it's a lot of fun telling stories.
All right, Mark. Number of people on the instant feedback want to know: are you going to be at the Classic?
I don't plan to be at the Classic. Right now, I have no plans of being there, and it's going to be a great Classic. And whether I'm there or not will have little impact. But no, I don't plan to go to the Classic. I've been to a lot of them, fished a lot of them, fished 20 of them, and right now I do not have plans to attend. I don't.
All right, got to get your thoughts on the season that is coming here in 2020. Have you done anything to prepare for it differently than you did for 2019? I mean, what are your thoughts going into this year?
I've thought about it a lot. I mean, we're going to some good fisheries, obviously. I don't know. My approach to bass fishing, tournament bass fishing anymore with practice. I don't go pre-fish unless it's just a lake that I'm totally unfamiliar with, and that if that's the case, I might go look around at it. But as far as going and look at these lakes ahead of time, and that sort of preparation, I don't do. I'd rather have everything current, and fishing changes so much from day to day. I try to have a fresh approach and try to figure it out on the water when I'm out there. Given that how to get from point A to point B. Some of these lakes are hard to navigate, but most everywhere we're going this year is places we fished before in the past, and I'm looking forward to it. I don't know our opening event at Eufaula, Alabama. I don't know how that's going to be. I think there's some grass growing in there now. Should be a good event. It may be a little early. Depends on what this weather does, but that's a little far north for the first week of February. But if we get some mild weather, it could be bang up. Okeechobee, I don't hear a whole lot of good about Okeechobee right now. Unfortunately, I don't think it's fishing very good. They're spraying the grass and killing habitat, which I don't understand why they're doing that down there. But nevertheless, they are. Really looking forward to Fork. That's going to be a lot of fun. Other than, Fork's pretty crowded in March. I'm sure you guys have been there. And like everybody with a bass boat's out on the lake, on Fork in March. But and of course, we're going up north and coming over to you guys' neck of the woods over to Grand in April, and that'll be a fun event. So good lakes, and I'm looking forward to it. Have I prepared? No, I haven't. I really, as far as I'll have my boat tuned up and hopefully my body tuned up, and that's a whole nother topic that we can talk about. But health wise, right now I'm doing good. I feel good. I had a hip replaced a couple of years ago, and that seems to be working out pretty well. So looking forward to it.
What are your thoughts on the fluctuation in weight thresholds? Are you okay with that? What are your thoughts?
I think that's untested water. I don't want to weigh in on it. I think it's something that we're going to have to try. Theoretically, going to a bigger weight, going to a 2-pound fish, theoretically, I guess makes sense. I don't know. The thing about our format is it's new, and it's the old anglers out there. They're one of the fishes. Here's what's crazy about that format. The anglers, it's not really being accepted. It's not what they do. It's not what they're accustomed to doing, so therefore they don't like it. They've never tried it, but they don't like it, or at least they say they don't like it. But for the general public to watch it on television, they love it because it's fast-paced and it's moving, and it's like watching a ball game. So it's a completely different animal format-wise than what everyone is accustomed to. But to answer your question about the weights, I honestly don't know. Now, theoretically, it makes sense. If you go to a better body of water, you can up it to 2 pounds, 3 pounds. You can go, I would say, even at a lake like Fork, you could go to a 3-pound minimum, and it would probably work fine. But I don't know. I don't think anyone really knows. I think it's something we're going to have to try. It's easy to do. I know that. It's real easy, and it's the same for everyone in competition. So, but I don't know. I really don't. Until we try that, and see how it all shakes out. I'm not going to really weigh. I don't really have an opinion, I guess, about it. I think it's going to be fine. But I will say this: I'm fine with it at a pound. If you think it's easy to go out and just one of them guys that can absolutely massacre these fish, I mean, they can. That group can catch, and you go out, you put your boat in the water. You think about this: you put your boat in the water, and man, I have got to go out here and I've got to catch 60 or 70 pounds of bass. That's not easy, guys. I don't care if they weigh a pound apiece or they weigh, 5 pounds apiece. The weight is weight, and you have to catch that many fish every day to know you're going to have that to advance. You're never safe. That's the thing about it. You can never say, oh, well, I've got 30 pounds or I've got 28 pounds. I think I'm going to go over there to the store and get me a dozen hot dogs but the salmon rolls. It never happens. You can't relax. That never comes to you, because I don't care how many you caught. If you're catching them, the rest of the guys are catching them. You've got to go catch one more, 2 more, 3 more, and it's all about getting another bite. So it's challenging, and I like it. Yeah, I like it. It's fine, the way it is. The other solution, of course, and this has all been debated up and down and round and round. You go to a limit, and then obviously you're forced to fish 4 big bass, big fish. But when I started, we were fishing for 10 bass, and then we went fishing for 7 bass. And in recent years, obviously, we fished for 5. I think 10's a good number. Easily divisible. It's not easy to catch 10 bass. You go out on Grand Lake and you've got to catch 10 bass every day. That's not always easy to do. So especially with a lake that's got a 14, 15 inch size limit or whatever, it's not easy to catch 10 bass on most of these lakes we go to. In fact, if you'll go look at the numbers, the cut line to advance oftentimes is nowhere near 10 a day. It winds up being 7, 8 fish a day. So 10's attainable, but it's not easy. Now, obviously, you go to Lake Martin that's full of spotted bass. You go to a Table Rock, yeah, it's easy to catch 10. But most of our lakes it is not. So it's a debate that will continue. But we'll see. The fluctuating weights. I think it's going to be fine. I'm not really. I really don't have an opinion on it until we try it. Now let's talk a year from now, and I'll have an opinion. But until we try it, I'm gonna say, well, let's wait and see.
All right, Matt. Anything else for Mark?
No, that's all good. I mean, I just want to point out, we have had Mark Davis drop the Cajun Baby reference, and Jimmy Houston also referenced the Cajun Baby. So I'm not sure what Cliff is doing, but he's got the right people talking about him in the industry somehow.
Yeah, he does.
Oh, Crochet is great. He's a great guy. He's so much fun to hang out with, and all these guys are good. I don't. I don't have any enemies out there, or if I do, I don't know of them. I will get along with all those guys. Great, and at my Hall of Fame induction last year, I gave kudos to just what a great group. I referred to them as a fraternity. But what a great bunch of guys, to make a living around. It's changed a little bit. There's a couple of, I won't say they're bad eggs, but for years and years, and I've told the story, one time of when I was doing really well in an event, and Davey Hyatt came in, and I had this big fish stand on the bed, and I went in there to catch the third morning, and he didn't come in on me. He didn't know I was fishing in that area, and Davey immediately, he's looking at a 9.5 pounder on the bed, and he left, and I caught that fish. I mean, that's the kind of guys. I mean, how many guys would do? What other sport does that take place in? You know, such a good bunch of guys and a great fraternity and great, you know, just to hang around those guys. I'm sure there's a couple of them out there that probably wouldn't fall in that bracket, but by and large, great guys.
All right, Mark, I have one last question. It's somewhat selfish, but I'm dying to know. There was a crankbait that you designed many years ago when you were at Pradco. It was a signature series flat A crankbait that was like kind of chartreuse fire tiger looking. And Brad, you may know this, Sean Goodwin and a guy by the name of Gary Rayburn turned me on to this bait down at Lake Texoma, and it is unreal what that crankbait does at Lake Texoma. And I got to know, do you still have some of those signature series flat A's that you had?
I sold them all on eBay for $50 a piece. I used to. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
No, I don't think I've got any of them left. And there may be one. I think there was one laying around the house, and there's a. I think she's got it hanging up there with some memorabilia. Maybe I don't know. No, I don't have many. I designed two little colors there, and that it was a brown back fire tiger.
That's what it was.
And I can remember, it was a brown back fire tiger, and more or less. And I can remember what we started. I was telling this color, and I would used to hand paint some stuff, and that was one of my. And you know, stained water. That thing was just unbelievable, and. They're like, well, that's ugly, you know. And I said, no, it might be ugly to you, but I'm telling you, them fish don't think it's ugly. And and I don't see that color. No one has replicated that color. Of course, it was on a good little bait, good little fish catching bait, especially when the water's, you know, it doesn't have to be cold, but the cooler temperatures is really good.
Yeah, yeah, great stuff. All right, Mark, man, I can't thank you enough for taking time out. I know it's very busy for you, but I know I appreciate it. The fans appreciate it. And, hey, man, it's great to see you in the Hall of Fame. I voted for you. You definitely deserve to be there. And wish you nothing but the best this year in 2020.
I appreciate it, guys. It's always a pleasure.
All right, Mark. Be careful, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot.
All right. There you have it. Mark Davis. Great stories, Matthew.
Yeah, you were on the Skeeter team with him for a number of years when you were on the Elite Series, right?
Yeah.
And he would sit around and tell stories?
Every show, the deal down at Lake Fork that they do every year, you know, so you got a lot of time to kill there. And, yeah, you always go hunt down Mark and hope he's telling the story. And if not, you do just what Crochet did and start agging it on. Come on, tell us the story.
What do you learn from the guys like that? I mean, he's been doing it since '86, so he's 30 years in. You were 10 years, you know, right when you started. Is he a guy that you bounce stuff off of, or just sit back and listen and absorb?
Mark is obviously very approachable. That is Mark. Like like for the fans listening, the person that you heard talking, that's him, and he's very approachable. He's very genuine. He's very kind to everyone. Now he is a competitor, just like everybody else, but. Yeah, he was always very approachable with anything that anyone ever had or that I ever had. I always enjoyed talking to him. It was always a pleasure to be around him. And, of course, obviously somebody with that experience and just his resume, I mean, dude, you want to talk about catching them. You know, we're talking about John Cox and stuff right now. You go back and look at his prime when he came out, man, you're talking about a juggernaut. I mean, he was just dominant.
We saw a taste of that in 14 when he came back to the Elite Series. You know, he had a string there when he came back in 13, but in 13, the beginning of 14, he had like 5 top 5s in 4 tournaments, I remember.
When he first came from, which would have been even before that, but when he was with FLW for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, he'd left Basskett with FLW for a while, and he came back to the Elite Series somewhere around, I'm going to guess around
12, 13, 14.
09, no, because I was there.
Oh, okay.
He wasn't there when I started, and he came after I'd been there a year or two. I think after 2 years. So say 08. I'm doing the math. 08 or 09. But anyway, I remember Falcon Lake was one of the first ones, and he was involved in that slugfest. He was in the top 12.
I would also like to point out that today's show included references to Bobby Knight and Monica Lewinsky, which is probably a first for a fishing podcast.
Yeah.
Very good. All right, I have to ask, can you come in tomorrow? Do you want to come in tomorrow?
I can.
right? Because we didn't get to a lot of this stuff.
I'm not worried about it. I just like to come in and roll. I like talking with.
Yeah, but people want to hear
anyway.
your stories. We got to answer the emails that are like, "Why the hell is it Brad in?" We want to hear about Brad's stuff.
Mark's stories are
You got
much
a bunch
better
of
than my
stuff going
stories
on, too. We got Brandon Cobb tomorrow.
Yeah.
We mentioned the number of top 10s and stuff. Just do yourself a favor and go to the FLW profile for Brandon Cobb. Now, obviously, he won 2 out of 3 tournaments this year with the Magic 10-pounder on Lake Fork, but go back and look at his BFL resume and FLW Tour, Coast, and all that resume before he was Brandon Cobb, who catches them everywhere.
That was actually the conversation I had with him last week. It was like, dude, you catch them every day your entire life. And he was like, I'm telling you. He's like, but I would never win. And then he was like, and then last year, I didn't catch them every day, but for 8 days, destroyed him.
Yep. All right, Brandon Cobb tomorrow. Want to thank Mark Davis. Once again, make sure you do the iTunes review on iTunes to have a shot at that Lowrance HDS Live 12. Everybody, that's it. We're out of here.